Hello and welcome back to another episode of Diablo to D&D. My name is David, and today we're going to be going over the changelog for January 6th. I'm actually starting with the actual files first because I made some organizational changes. You'll notice that some documents have a 0, a 1, a 2, or a 3 on them. They are designed to be a 0 is not intended for any book or organization. 1 is player's handbook, 2 is DM's guide, and 3 is the monster manual. It's not a big thing, just something that I've changed. You'll notice that there is a new document called 2.2 items, which has just the details on the items that I'm actually creating. And I'm doing it individually. I'm not going to be doing it not yet. I'm still working on the monster manual and whatnot. But so far I've given my players the angelic halo and the soul flay, and you can take a look at what I've got so far on there. No campaign update this week. We didn't really hold it. It was more just one of our players was out of town, and we lost the other one last year. So we just had 2 people and just decided we'll have hang out with our friends. So let's move to the actual changelog. There is a ton of work here. I've gone over a lot of them in the previous video where I made the druid changes, so I'll burn through those pretty quickly. The Paladin's Prayer Aura has been changed to grant a bonus action healing ability using hit dice. I have finally bit the bullet, realized that since I don't have mana and spending spell slots just kind of feels weird. Instead, Prayer grants the ability to bonus action expend a hit die and regain hit points based on your constitution or charisma, whichever one's higher. The Necromancer actually learns False Life. Previously, the Bone Armor just said you can cast it, but it didn't actually give you the ability. Speaking of Bone Armor, it can be used twice per long rest instead of proficiency bonus times per long rest. And False Life is cast at your highest level spell slot instead of a level equal to your proficiency bonus. It counts as a Necromancer's spell, future-proofing for when the Necromancer's spell list is created, and doesn't count against the number of spells you know. You can also use spell slots to cast it. This was just me making some necessary changes. Being able to cast a proficiency times per long rest at a level equal to your proficiency means that you actually get quite a few hit points at higher levels. So instead you get Bone Armor twice per long rest, and you can spend spell slots past that second time. For the Necromancer, again, Poison Explosion allows you to cast Stinking Cloud and Cloud Kill without expending a spell slot. They also count as Necromancer spells and don't count against the number of spells you know. You can also use spell slots to cast them, but don't gain the modifications when cast this way. This is just some minor changes, but now that I have spellcasting actually in the game, in the playtest, I have to start making these kinds of tweaks. Alright, Barbarian. Frenzy now requires 2 one-handed melee weapons in order to use it. Technically, this is a change, but functionally not really. One of my players pointed out that 2-weapon fighting requires you to have a separate melee weapon in each hand. I'm leaving it in there, but it's functionally flavor text right now. For the Paladin, Charge now has a wording that brings it in line with the monster ability. Notably, you do not have to dash in order to gain the damage. The way that it was worded was that you could actually back up and then hit them again. So you move back 5 feet and then move back into their area and get the damage, because it just said if you've moved 20 feet or more, or 10 feet, and no, you actually have to move 10 feet towards a target. Charge's damage is now a d6 rather than a d4. Smite no longer gives the benefit of multiple shields. Holy Shield now treats shields as +3 weapons. Smite no longer requires an unoccupied space, potentially knocking creatures into obstacles or each other. DMs rule it as you see fit. Those are all for the Paladin, just hammering them out Now for the Druid. Most of these I actually went over in the previous video. Go check it out. But this one I have not. For the Druid, Arctic Blast now clarifies the line emanates from you. The next few, Cyclone Armor has been moved from 5th level to the Wind Druid's 6th level feature. It's now a subclass feature rather than a class feature. Druids now get extra attack at 5th level to replace the Cyclone Armor. Feral Rage no longer gives an additional attack to the attack action because that's part of extra attack. Its hit point regeneration now only works if you are under half your hit point maximum and grants hit points based on your proficiency bonus instead of the damage dealt, and you can use it any number of times. Maul also had to be changed. It no longer gives 1d12 plus strength modifier or wisdom modifier on continued hits, and you can knock creatures prone any number of times. The DC can be set with strength or wisdom. Just some pretty good changes there. Fire Claws no longer upgrades to twice your wisdom modifier at 14th level, and it's reduced to half your wisdom modifier rounded up because of extra attack. Druids, Rabies has been changed. Succeeding the Rabies saving throw makes the creature immune to the ability for 1 minute. That way you can't continuously poison a boss or something. I go through the whole thing in the other video. Go check it out. And then lastly, the Paladin's Holy Shield damage is now 1d6 rather than 1d8. So this way, the idea is that you have 1d6 for your shield, you have 1d6 for your charge, and you have 1d6 for Holy Shield. And that way, ta-da, you're rolling 3d6 rather than 1d4, 1d6, and 1d8. I kind of like the idea of having 3 different dice, but yeah, it changes the math just a little bit, but you can just use 1 die and roll it 3 times instead of having to worry about 3 completely different dice. Anyway, that is it for the changelog. These are going to be fairly short. Remember that I am no longer doing these at the beginning of the previous or the Let's Fix and whatnot, the other videos that I'm doing. You can find me at XenozFan2, that is XenozFan2, on Twitter and Blue Sky and Reddit, and you can contact the channel directly at Diablo TODND on Twitter and Blue Sky and YouTube. Thank you much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good whatever.